Good afternoon. The 49ers play in a little less than 4 hours. You could say the 49ers practice squad. Calling it the B team doesn't really sound accurate. See, the Niners practice squad is a 7-point underdog to the Packers tonight. And the Niners just made a bunch of roster moves. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about real quick before I drive down to Santa Clara. Here's what they did. They activated tight end Jordan Reed off of injured reserve. They activated the two players off practice squad, guard Tony Bergstrom and running back Austin Walter. He might play. They elevated the following players off of the practice squad as COVID-19 replacements for Kendrick Bourne, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams. These are the replacements. River Craycraft, wide receiver, going to wear number 86. Safety Jonathan Cyprien, going to wear 32. Tight end Daniel Helm, going to wear 88. Wide receiver Kevin White, going to wear 14. Austin Walter will wear 48, and Jordan Reed, of course, 81. I think this is significant. Remember, the Niners beat the Packers in the NFC Championship game throwing 8 times. Can they run on this team again? I think they can. And I've been talking about this topic with Vish. The Niners can run on teams that have small defensive lines because the Niners have a small offensive line. They get physically manhandled by certain teams. It's not going to happen today. So if they can just run the ball and call a few play action passes to Jordan Reed and Ross Dwelley, the Niners should be fine. Maybe a couple of passes to Trent Taylor, Jerick McKinnon, Kyle Juszczyk. But mostly today, they can just go to their tight ends. They don't have to really mess around with wide receivers. The Niners have 2 really good tight ends, Jordan Reed and Ross Dwelley. 2, not just 1. I don't know how much Jordan Reed can actually do today. He's been hurt. And you don't want to overdo it with him because he gets hurt a lot. But when Nick Mullens is the quarterback this season, his quarterback rating when targeting Reed is 121. He lit up the Giants in the first half throwing to Reed. And you can see when Nick Mullens trusts a tight end, a big receiver, he'll give him chances. He'll throw it up. And he was given Jordan Reed chances, and Jordan Reed was bringing him down, making him look good. He would have had a beautiful touchdown catch in the back of the end zone, but didn't quite get his foot down and hurt himself. Still, they had a nice connection right away. 121. Nick Mullens' quarterback rating when he targets Jordan Reed. You know what his quarterback rating is when he targets Ross Dwelley this year? 127. 127. That's how good Ross Dwelley is. Ross Dwelley, in his career, 23 catches, 13 first downs, 3 touchdowns. He produces really good hands, good after the catch. He's more like the Travis Kelce style tight end and the George Kittle style tight end. He's not much of a blocker. I mean, he doesn't dog it. He is assignment sound. He does what he's supposed to do, but he's not going to be really moving people. He'll try hard. He'll give good effort. But as a receiver, as a route runner, he's really big. He has terrific hands. He can make difficult catches. He can get open in tight spaces. He's a red zone threat. He's a security blanket. He gets open. He can make plays after the catch. He's like a poor man's Travis Kelce. That's who the Niners have along with Jordan Reed. That's enough. I don't see how of course I see how the Packers can win this game, but I think the Niners should definitely compete, and I'm picking the Niners to win. I still feel like the Niners can be able to run the ball. Let's talk about Austin Walter. He's looked good in the past. They had him last year in training camp. He was in preseason. You've seen him before. I'd like to see him in this game. Compliment JaMycal Hasty because I'm not that into Jerick McKinnon as a runner. He's basically a slot receiver. Jerick McKinnon might be the Niners' number 1 receiver in this game, wide receiver. Play him at wide receiver. But as a running back, he doesn't have much acceleration right now. He doesn't have much explosion. He runs hard, but he just isn't getting much velocity behind when he gets to the line of scrimmage. So I'd like to see JaMycal Hasty and Austin Walter, 2 practice squad guys. I bet they'll be great. Those 2. And then at wide receiver, what are they really going to do? We'll find out in a couple hours who's active, if it's Richie James, Kevin White, River Craycraft. But Trent Taylor's having a rough year. Not as rough when Nick Mullens is the quarterback. Mullens' quarterback rating is 85 when targeting Trent Taylor. So Trent Taylor will play. If Richie James is healthy, he'll play. And I think Richie James will be even more important because, Trent Taylor's kind of like a check down security blanket. They have that in Jordan Reed and Ross Dwelley. What they need is the gadget play guy, the end around, jet sweep, screen, returner, running back / wide receiver. That's Richie James. So if he plays, the Niners can kind of stick to the game plan. I mean, obviously, going into last night, Kyle Shanahan had a game plan that featured Brandon Ayuk heavily, and now that Ayuk can't play, they can't just slot Richie James Jr. into that role and call the same game. You can't do that. But some of the same things you can call with Richie James Jr. But what we're going to see is those two on the field, Richie James doing the gadget stuff, Trent Taylor doing the little short routes in the slot. But who's going to play outside? The outside receivers on this team really, Richie James, of course, and I'd like to see him get some real run, but also Kevin White and River Craycraft. I don't know much about them. Here's where I would say I saw them in training camp and they did this and this is that. They came in right at the end. Remember, like the vets were supposed to be Tavon Austin and JJ Nelson. Then they got hurt. So these were like the backup. It's like the backup plan to the backup plan to the backup plan. Not saying they're bad. Kevin White's bounced around a little bit. The few reps I saw from Kevin White in training camp, he looked good. I mean, he's bigger than the other wide receivers. He's fast. He has big hands. We'll see what he does in a real game. But I would expect, I don't know, they're going to have to play some of these wide receivers. You can't play Trent Taylor every snap. Richie James Jr. is coming off an injury. It seems like Kevin White has to play or River Craycraft. So I'm going to go through the list again if you missed it when I first got in. These are the guys that have been called up. Jordan Reed's been activated off injured reserve. Then called up from the practice squad are Tony Bergstrom, a guard, Austin Walter, the running back, and then wide receiver River Craycraft, safety Jonathan Cyprien, tight end Daniel Helm, wide receiver Kevin White. There's more. Hold on. The following player has been signed to the team's practice squad. Defensive lineman Josiah Cohn. Couldn't tell you the first thing about him. The following players have been placed on injured reserve list. Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle. The following player has been released from the team's practice squad. Chris Fink. That's a bad day for Chris Fink. Everyone gets called up and you get fired. How'd you get fired on your day off? How'd you get fired when everyone else got promoted? That's rough. Jeez. Chris Fink, we hardly knew you. So yeah, I mean, I still think the Niners are going to win this game. I picked them to win it. I don't think going from Jimmy Garoppolo to Nick Mullens is a step down. Oh, snap. What we got? Well, thank you, Vikrant. I appreciate you. Really do. I'll be back on at 4:15 with Chrissy, Crystal Score, Nick Newman, Tony Farmer, and Maverick Palak, and we're going to have a special pregame All 49ers roundtable. But until then, I'm about to go down to Santa Clara real quick. I can answer a couple of questions, but I really think that before we get into I'll lay this out in the roundtable later. But why I'm picking the Niners to win this game, they should be able to run the ball. The reason they ran the ball so well against the Packers last year was partially because of Raheem Mostert, but it was also because that defensive line can't do much against the Niners offensive line. The Niners offensive line is kind of small. You can push them around. That's what the Eagles did. Packers won't do that. The Packers have a good defensive tackle, Kenny Clark. He's big. But their DNs are Dean Lowry and someone Kiki, who are both about 290 pounds. High cut, lean. Niners going to run the ball. Even if the Packers put 8 in the box, the Niners should be able to block it up and get big runs. As long as the Niners going to win this game, as long as they run the ball in the first play. If Kyle Shanahan comes out, drop back pass on the first play, like he did against the Eagles, it's over. I'm saying the Niners shouldn't have to do any drop back passing in this game at all. Maybe on a few third downs if Nick Mullens is playing well, but really you can win with running, RPOs, and play action. The defense should have to account for the threat of the run on every play. Take some shots. You got to expect that the Packers are going to come and try to hurt Nick Mullens, hit him hard, blitz him early, and see what he's got. Because the last time he was on national TV, prime time, he melted down. So they're going to bring the pressure on him early. If you go back and watch the film of him against the Seahawks last week, the Seahawks brought the pressure on him early. They're not dumb. They saw what happened. They were blitzing him hard, and he was making throws while taking hits. That deep throw, he hit Kittle down the left sideline. He was blitzed. He got hit. That's coming for him. And the thing about Nick Mullens, he's actually pretty good against the blitz. His quarterback rating against the blitz this year, I think, is like 119. When Nick Mullens struggles is against a really good four-man pass rush. Same thing that gives Aaron Rodgers problems. These guys are pocket quarterbacks. Nick Mullens can't move. He's not an athlete. When he gets into a situation where he has to move around, he really does look like a middle school kid. But when he's in the pocket and he's throwing it in rhythm and he doesn't have to worry about interior pressure or four-man pressure, he can just dice up a blitz because he knows where all the hot routes are. He knows he's prepared. He looks good. You know, he looked good dicing up the Seahawks blitz. He made them back off. If he goes against a really good four-man pass rush like next week against the Saints, Cameron Jordan, Marcus Davenport, they don't have to blitz. That's a tough one. Now, if he can step up in the pocket, he'll be fine. But he doesn't have the athleticism to scramble around, buy time, or make really tough throws off his back foot. He needs to step into with throws, and he does a great job of that. And I think he can do that today. I think the Niners are going to be able to run for 150 or 200, and he'll be able to step into his play action throws, and he'll have big pockets because the Packers have one big pass rusher, Zadarius Smith, but after him, nothing much. And the Niners have Justin School, baby, and Mike McGlinchey. That's bad, gotta say. Because last time Justin School played Zadarius Smith, Justin School didn't make it through the whole game. Seems like you didn't have coffee today. Here you go. Love your show regardless. Sorry, I don't have my normal energy today. Sorry, guys. I'm just getting into the spirit of things. All right. So no wide receivers, no problem. I'd like to see what Kyle Shanahan can do because honestly, I think they have enough talent. But what Shanahan's problem is right before I leave, you make the game plan earlier in the week or even last week, planning ahead. Bourne and Ayuk drop out the day before the game, test positive the day before the game, Bourne 2 days before the game. How much can you really change your game plan? How much new stuff can you put in there when you don't even get a chance to walk through it with your team? This could be an ugly game. This could be a lot of like running up simple run plays and simple the kind of vanilla scheme you see in preseason. Maybe it'll work though. Who's to say it won't? Who's to say it won't? All right, I got to drive down to Santa Clara, go through security, set up, but I'll be back 4:15 pregame show. We're going to break it all down. See you then.